So I learned something earlier this week because I thought I knew SageMaker. And I thought it was initially aimed at, when it first came out, aimed at developers. It plugged into things like Jenkins, CI/CD pipelines. It was something that brought together the whole development pipeline for AIs.
Yes, for ML and model training, yes, especially focused on the ML parts. Yes.
Yeah. However, there is now a new iteration on SageMaker, and it says in your materials that it now unifies data management and analytics as well as the previous capabilities. Being an idiot who doesn't keep up with the news, would you maybe give me an introduction about what this latest iteration adds to SageMaker and what these latest developments can help with?
Yeah, happy to. So yeah, we have indeed broadened the meaning of the term Amazon SageMaker from what you described, which was really focused on ML and model training and kind of all the tooling and infrastructure and managing a life cycle of the model. It's still that, but now that part we call SageMaker AI. It's one part of the broader SageMaker, and the broader SageMaker now includes a wide variety of data processing, ML, and Gen AI products that used to be delivered in a more separate manner. And so it's still kind of the same battle-tested underlying services, EMR, Spark, Athena, Redshift, MWA for Airflow, Bedrock. And so those are, services that customers rely on already and are familiar with. What we've done is we've integrated them and we've simplified the experience of using them. And so with one environment where all those tools come together, whether it means there are several people who are collaborating or work in the same environment with collaboration features between them, and with QA assistants to help them, or whether it means that a person who wears multiple hats, who does some data preparation, who does some model training, can do all of that while staying in one place. So in all cases, and there's benefit from this unification of the experience, which is one part of SageMaker, the Unified Studio. We've also unified at the data management level with SageMaker Lakehouse, bringing together S3 data lake with the new S3 table addition to it, plus Redshift for data warehousing, kind of unifying the data management layer with unified access control, fine-grained access control, with an Iceberg API across all of it. And then also unifying data that's not physically necessarily on AWS system, but data in operational databases, data in SaaS services, data in other cloud, making those available through Zero ETL. So there's kind of that integration of the experience of the data management with also unified governance coming from what used to be Data Zone. That's another branding change that we've done. What you used to know as Data Zone potentially is now the SageMaker catalog provides unified governance for all of SageMaker.
So again, talk to me like I'm 5 years old, but you're not trying to move SageMaker into a low-code, no-code AI engine creation tool. It's still quite a technical tool, but it has more capabilities, and that person who wears 5 hats can simply do his or her job in one place.
Yes to that, but yes, and it's also even people who are highly technical. If there is an easier way, a faster way to get things done, they want that. So there are cases where even people who would be able to write code, a low code interface is more useful. It's the right. So that is part of what SageMaker offers, but it offers that as part of a comprehensive tool set. It is not a place which is meant, only as a place where you can you're not going to take your business people who have no data literacy, who are just business users. That's where QuickSight, that's where, other AWS offerings are well suited for those pure business users. SageMaker is meant for data workers, but again, with a broad sense of tools, including drag and drop ETL, data integration, data preparation, things like that.
Okay. Now let's talk about the cost of AI and cost optimization. Yeah. There is a worry, I think, still that if I, as let's say an enterprise decision maker, if I start bringing AI tools into production, I'm very worried about runaway costs of running those models. People use them iteratively and they like using them, so they use them a lot more. And costs can really build up. Are there mechanisms within SageMaker that will stop me as a decision maker spending $1 million a second?
Yeah, there's governance mechanism around, first and foremost, who can access which tool. And so there is the ability to define project profiles and project templates. And based on that, I can give you access to a project which only has SQL analytics, and, you're not able to use Bedrock. Or if I give you access to a project where you can use Bedrock, you still have to use specific models and get them through. So there is, at the level of the project definition and kind of setting up the environment, there is governance capabilities there. And then at the point of usage, there is also access control. One of the benefits of SageMaker and Unified Studio is that it provides the context of a project. So, as you see your infrastructure consumption costs, you are able to map them back to what the project is and to set limits and to manage them with the business context, as opposed to just, there's a lot of, SageMaker AI usage happening. I don't know. Maybe it's something that's critical, or maybe it's some intern who's going crazy. And if you're not able to tie that back, it's a lot harder to manage. And so SageMaker gives you, that context, helping you manage that. And that's in terms of, the cost of the services themselves, but also, quite often what we hear is people are concerned about the broader cost of their infrastructure, including the people cost and the time it takes and the collaboration. And so a lot of the cost savings of SageMaker is not just leveraging the great cost per ratio of AWS services. It's also the productivity benefits, and by doing everything based on open standard, like Iceberg for Data Lake, for the Lake House, making sure that people are very safe in their architectural choice. They don't lock themselves in a way that they will regret it.
And also, therefore, to paraphrase what you've just said, so that I hope I understand it, the cost isn't necessarily, although I'm sure you could identify it as someone somewhere is overusing that model just there. What you can say is this project that is in production, this is being overused or underused by particular function in the business, or being used too much in testing, or
exactly. So that brings the context of the business structure and the business projects and maps that to the infrastructure usage to give you that visibility and that metadata to drive your cost management.
Okay, now let's talk about. I keep thinking of the phrase restricted businesses, and I don't mean that. What I mean is those businesses where the information's quite sensitive, and often there's a great deal of governance. So I'm thinking about medicine, I'm thinking about finance in particular, and also various parts of the public sector, lawmakers. So is there particular scope for not stronger data protections, but certainly more trackable and traceable data protections within SageMaker that will help me as an organization tick the compliance box and prove to the compliance officers that I'm doing the right thing?
Yeah, that's a really big part of the governance. And governance is not just access control. Obviously, access control is a core part, but governance is really giving the business owner of the data infrastructure and the compliance officers the tools to control the user. And so that means many things. It means lineage. So you can see, like that data was produced out of this data set, was consumed by this data set. So you're able to make sure that there's no intermingling, and you can report on the source of the data. It includes data quality. Automating the calculation of data quality score. It includes the detection of sensitive data and being able to, flag and restrict access to data set that contain sensitive data. It includes, responsible AI tools. And guidelines that you can impose to your Gen AI models, like topics that they should be avoiding, things like this. So there's a whole set of tools like this that really provide, kind of a higher level business and semantic control. And that's in addition to everything AWS, already does in terms of having, Gulf Cloud and having like environments which will meet the specific needs of, in this case of government agencies, for example. And so, but on top of that, there's those tools really provide the governance visibility that allow compliance rules to be met.
And I think in a traditional point of view would be, if I've got sensitive data, I keep it on premise. And actually what you're saying now is that it's actually in some ways safer because of these audit trails to cloud host or to use remote services for this type of workflow. Is that right?
Yeah, I think audit trails are right to look at it. It's like, at the end of the day, everything that happens in AWS happens through an API.
Yeah.
And that means that somebody has to be authorized to use it. And that means that their access is logged and can be analyzed and traced. And so, there's no bring a screwdriver and opening the back of a server. And so it forces a level of declarative discipline into the infrastructure, and provides that level of visibility, as well as, by now there's a lot of really well understood best practices on how to use AWS infrastructure and, things like, audit trails, to comply with different compliance methods.
And we began this interview by me saying that things had changed and I didn't realize. And my first question was you almost bringing me up to speed. I noticed on the website that there are a few more features sort of bubbling in the ether. I think there was a mention of stream data coming soon. This is a difficult question, therefore. 5 years' time, William, what's SageMaker going to look like?
5 years is a long time.
It is in technology.
It is. So I think, the part I'm fairly confident about is the data management part, is the fact that the platform will continue to provide more and more built-in data management for obviously all of the governance and access control, for cost optimization, or to give you access to the point there will be no duplication of data. Like you stop thinking about where your data is. Like the data, you only need to think about your data logically. Just in the way today, when you use a file, you don't care where the bits are on the disk, right? You think the file. Like when we're going to go to the next level above that, you're never going to be thinking about files anymore. You'll be thinking about data sets. And, I think Iceberg has a really good shot at being the standard in 5 years, but 5 years is a long time. Maybe it'll be Iceberg, maybe it'll be something else. But the thing I'm confident about is that, we will be supporting whatever the most popular standard API is and offering that open. So at the data management level, including cost, by the way, it's like, you can, already you can do that and we'll keep building on that count on AWS to manage your data by taking into account your cost per trade-off. And you can tell us, like for different data sets, different applications, and then we will automatically manage this and optimize it for you based on your. So that part, I feel like I can squint and see what it'll be like in 5 years. The actual tools, it's a lot harder.
Yeah.
I don't think SQL is going away, but I don't think people will spend nearly as much time writing SQL as they are. It might be more of the way that AI explains what it did is like, oh yeah, you're a human. Let me tell you in SQL terms, if that's what you want, or just in plain natural language terms. So like the balance of the tools, I think 5 years is just very hard to predict. And so like the lower you are on the stack, the more, step by step, the evolution is going to be.
So we can see the abstractions, but we can't see the tools used at each level of the abstraction necessarily.
Yeah. We can project. Like I personally don't think that everything will be chat. Obviously, there's a lot of value in being able to chat with system and ask questions.
Yep.
We are visual species. Like, we learn, we absorb information visually, in addition to text. So I think there is a frontier here in, having kind of automated interfaces that are not just chat, but, and so I think there's a lot of work that needs to happen in, harnessing the power of AI, but developing UIs that are, really optimal for UI, optimal for AI. Like, in the same way that, when the mobile phones came up, like the first time the UIs were bad, right? Because we just had either it's like, like what used to be a flip phone put on a big phone, or it's a computer shrunk down to a big phone. And it took time to evolve. Like, what's a really good interface for a screen that's about that size? Like, in the same way, I think, inventing the UI patterns that will get the value of AI through is still something that's in progress. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun.